RFC Liege changed their manager in the summer of 2020, with Dražan Brncic replaced by perennial no-hoper Sean Death. The fans were surprised, and not one of them would have guessed 22 years later he would be leading the club to finish above Standard Liege in the league. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Sean Death's first game in charge started with a disappointing 2-2 draw away at Roepelboom in the third tier of Belgian football. Michael Lannemont got his first goal of many under the new manager. The season improved quickly, and Liège found themselves as runaway leaders in the amateur division, notching up 17 wins and only losing 2 games in the regular season. However, form tailed off as they entered the playoffs, and they continued to struggle as they gave up a 10-point lead and arrived in the final game of the season a point behind Thez Sport. They knew they had to better the result of Thez Sport to finish in the only promotion spot. Going to the last 10 minutes of the season, Liège were ahead in their game, but so were Thez Sport. But then a miracle happened. A last-minute penalty was awarded against Thez Sport, and it was scored. Not long to go. It's 1-1. It's flipping 1-1. It's 1-1. It's flipping 1-1. Come on. Oh. Yes. Liège ended the season as champions, with Michael Lannemont scoring 27 goals. Liège were promoted to the Pro League B and turned professional immediately, and on top of that they announced an expansion of the Rocourt Stadium, increasing its capacity to 4,000. However, rather than this being the start of a brave run up the leagues, it was the beginning of a difficult period for Liège. The move to a professional status and a stadium upgrade started a decline in the club's finances, which would take 20 years to reverse. It forced the club to rely almost solely on youth prospects and free transfers. The next 2 seasons were challenging, with the club just surviving both times and enduring a run of form which wouldn't see them pick up a win in a calendar year. But Liège and Death endured and turned things around in the following seasons, with players like Roman Bodin and Adam Nicholas emerging from the youth system to play an important first-team role. Nicholas would leave for Club Bruges shortly after breaking through, and eventually made 5 caps for the Belgian national side. Finally, in the 24-25 season, Liège made a run for the Pro League B title and won the league by a single point over Union SG. I don't care about that anymore. And we are league champions. Come on, boys. Well, I mean, the side we have it was a strong side. I didn't believe it at the start of the season, I have to say. I thought, no hope. They were promoted back to the Jupiler Pro League. Critical to this performance was the towering Brazilian centre-back Diogo, another product of the youth team. Watching on from the stands was a fresh-faced youngster in his first year in the youth team. His name was Michael Jacquot, and he would later captain the side to qualify for Europe and have the most league appearances in the club's history. Life in the top division was hard for Liège. For the next 10 years they were predicted to finish bottom of the league, but each year they avoided the drop. Sometimes only by a single point, or by winning in the relegation playoffs. Whilst they did play standard in the league, almost all of the games ended in defeat. Finances were in a terrible shape during this period, but despite this, the board decided to build a new stadium at great expense. At the start of the 2027 season, Liège moved into their new home, the Liège Stadium. Their debt was getting worse each year, and it was only by selling their best and brightest stars that Liège kept afloat, with the likes of Diogo leaving for Liverpool for £9.5 million and winger Norfel Nana moving to a Chinese club for the same amount. At this point, Liège seems stuck fighting for survival each year with no clear way out. However, in the 2036 season, things started to change. The signing of German striker Philippe Otto and goalkeeper Tim Kramer brought about a newly found confidence in the Liège side, and they finished 7th, qualifying for the European playoff groups, with Otto scoring 25 league goals. They didn't manage to qualify for Europe that year, but things improved markedly from that point. 2 years later, in the 38-39 season, they again finished 7th, and this time dominated the playoff group to finish top. However, they lost the playoff final to Kortrijk 2-1 in extra time and missed out on a European place. Improving Liège were helped by the emergence of more youth players, including striker Abdelkader Udar and midfielder Joachim Munier. Although Udar, Otto and goalkeeper Kramer were lured away by big money moves during this period, the inspired signings of the likes of Jan Metzger, Ken Becks and Clement Canner kept Liège improving. In the 2041 season, Liège really made their move. Ken Becks scored 38 league goals and Munier assisted 21 goals from midfield. Liège were on fire and finished 2nd in the regular season, just 4 points behind Standard. Unfortunately, they could not keep this form up in the playoffs and slipped back to 3rd, with Standard winning the league. However, this meant that Liège had qualified for Europe for the first time in decades. The 2042 season would require Liège to compete on 2 fronts, in Europe and also in the league. Whilst finances had improved, the squad was still paper thin. The first game was a sign of what was to come. Despite going behind in the first minute and a sending off against Standard, they did not give up and managed to pull off a 1-1 draw. Becks was again busy in front of goal, and Liège started the season strongly and qualified from a tough Conference League group, which culminated in a 4-2 win over Tottenham Hotspur. They were not able to keep the league form going though throughout the year and finished the regular season in 4th place. However, in Europe it was a different story, and knockout phase wins over Utrecht, Dynamo Zagreb and Union SG gave RFC Liège their first European final in their history. Unfortunately, the final against RB Leipzig did not follow the fairy tale script and they lost 2-0. However, the league was a different story. Some excellent performances in the playoffs, including home and away wins over Standard, put RFC Liège within a chance of finishing 2nd and going above Standard. The final game of the season was against Anderlecht, and all Liège needed to do was to better Standard's result. Standard Liège produced a strong performance, drawing 3-3 away at eventual league winners Genk. However, RFC Liège, with a depleted squad, won away against Anderlecht 4-0. Right, coming to the end of the game this is, and there we go. We have done it, folks. Finally, after 22 seasons of trying, we are finally gone above Standard. We have taken RFC Liège from the bottom playable league in Belgium. We have overcome the most ridiculous financial difficulties, and we have finally put them in pride of place in Belgian football. RFC Liège had not won the league, but they had finished above Standard and qualified for the Champions League. What of the future? Well, who knows? Can RFC Liège go on to win the league or a European competition? Only time will tell. What we can say is that RFC Liège are no longer the little team in the city. They are now a force in Belgian football. Standard will have to get used to that.